It's a gorgeous day, and I'd be flying if it wasn't for this wind. Here today I have the Diatone ET160 quadcopter frame, and this one is all carbon fiber. Now this quadcopter frame is supposed to support 4-inch propellers. Now I think there was a revision that came out later where they had a little bit longer spacers to actually support 4-inch propellers because some people were complaining that they were hitting the frame. Anyway, I'm gonna get this opened up. We'll get some measurements on it and take a look at it up close and see what it, see if those 4-inch props fit on this one or not. So here are the components that are included: the plates, the stuff for your power distribution board and nozzle 32 setup or your CC3D, power distribution board itself, some screws, the little included business card to give you, and the spacers. Now these spacers are supposedly not going to fit the 4-inch props because these are 20 millimeters and the upgraded ones are actually 25 millimeters. So that kind of stinks. Maybe I have some 25 millimeter spacers sitting around. Probably not this size. Great. Probably have to put an order in for those. Anyway, let me get this thing built and we can see what it looks like. So this is the ET160 frame fully assembled. I have the power board mounted in here, and what I did, I cut off the outer edge and then I put 3 spacers in there to separate the power distribution board from the carbon fiber frame so that it doesn't short out because carbon fiber is conductive. The spacers go down through the board, through the spacers, out the bottom where I have these little nylon nuts down here holding them on. The nozzle 32 would go up here on top, take these nylon screws out and put them down through there. And also this thing has some of the material on the inside is cut away. You can kind of see it in there, how it's a little bit thinner on the inside. And I'm sure that's just to save on the weight, because you don't really need all that extra weight down in the middle, because usually when you brake, it's going to be one of your arms that brake, not the center board itself. In true Diatone form, they also include an extra nylon piece for everyone they have, and also an extra spacer. And they also include 8 extra screws. I guess they think that you're going to be losing a lot of screws, I guess. Make sure you use Loctite on any place where metal screws into metal, and you shouldn't lose too much stuff that way. So this bottom plate here comes out to be about 2.5 millimeters. The upper plate comes in about 1 millimeter, and that's kind of standard for upper plates. And like I said, the middle here is 20 millimeters because we know those spacers are 20 millimeters. The Blade 150 weighs in at 30 grams, and this one weighs in at 36.4 grams. So it's a little bit heavier than the 150, but it is a 160. Here's the 4-inch propeller, and if I center this over the hole, you can see it clears the spacer just fine. Even up here in the front, if you center it over the hole, it clears the spacer just fine. Let me get it on the hole. There it is. It clears the spacers just fine. There's no problem with the spacers. What the problem is that if you use 1306 motors, they raise the propellers up to the same height as the deck, and the propellers will scrape the deck, just barely glazing it as they spin around. Now that's not too big of a deal because they will wear down and it'll be fine. But that's why they put the 25 millimeter spacers in here, is to raise this up a little bit so that the propellers are going underneath the plate instead of right into it. So here's my Blade 150, and it has the 1306 motors. And if I line these up, if I line up the top plates just enough, you can see how that lines up the propeller with the top plate. And that's what I was talking about, that they the new versions have those plates up 5 more millimeters so the propellers will clear underneath it. So here's the Blade 150 and the ET160 frame. You can see this one looks a little bit bigger. If we hold these up front to front, the front arms, actually I'm going to line up these two together and we'll see how much wider it is. Yeah, and it's a little bit wider there. And the front to back, if I line up the same thing, it's a lot longer than the Blade 150 frame. But again, this one only supports almost 3.5 inch propellers. This one supports 4-inch propellers. The holes on these arms are designed for the 2 millimeter screws. So that means you can run 1306 motors on here or 1806 motors without having to drill these out. If you're going to try to put on 23 or 2204 motors, you're going to have to drill these out. But I don't know why you would do that on a frame like this. Those 23 or the 2204s can't spin 4-inch props any faster than the 1806 motors can. They're easy props for both of those motors to spin. The front area up here is opened up so that you can mount your camera and have it angle up a little bit so that it clears all this area and you don't have to look at the frame. back in the day, they used to all have to shoot straight out the front, and now this has kind of become the de facto, where it kind of has this little open U shape up here on the front. Also back here on the back, it has this little hole, which I would assume is to hold your power wires up and keep them out of the way of the propellers, but it's kind of small, and unless you're using real small or a real high gauge wire, I don't know if you'd actually get them to fit. I'll probably use something like 18 or something on this one. So the actual spacing on this ET160 is, if you measure from center hole to center hole, it's about, what is that, 164 or something, which is pretty close, I guess, to call it ET160. The upper plate also has the same holes up here that line up with the plates down on the bottom. So you could actually mount up your, have bigger spacers in here, and it could go all the way up through the top of this if you wanted to. If you did that, you may not have to have these middle spacers, but I'm not sure. Maybe the nylon spacers might actually weigh more than the metal ones, so that's probably not too great of an idea. So this is the ET160. I'm probably not going to get this one built anytime soon. I got like 3 other quadcopters that I'm in the process of building, and I got to build a couple racers for our racing because I broke the frame on my VDQ 210, and I'm waiting for replacement main plate to come in for that. Anyway, ET160. Got any questions about this? Leave in the comments. Thanks for watching. Another one of its features is the bottle opener down here on the bottom. If you're out there and you need a bottle open, well, no problem. You got your bottle opener right here.